Hey there, YouTube. I'm back. Come back to finish the second half of this game that I was on and talk about my comparison to the other analysts on NFL.com. I went ahead and looked at the six mock drafts that have been put together by someone from NFL.com, compared to my draft. 1 and 2 are consensuses for 5 of the 6 drafts anyways, and then outside of the 1 and 2, the most I've gotten is 4 other ones that are agreed upon. Now, I was really excited about my mock extravaganza draft matching with Charlie Carsley, because I think we had 3 of the same on just his picks. Outside of the top 3, outside of the top 2, only 1 other pick was the same. So I didn't have as many the same with him as I thought. Does it make me more or less optimistic about what my draft looks like going into Thursday? Well, I'm pretty confident, because you look at the boards and we have a similar discrepancy to what mine was against the NFL mock extravaganza. The position's right. It's just what guy is filling that position. So I'm not too heartbroken about the fact that I've got 6 matches as a most right now with the drafts that are on the board. And I don't know the hit success of these guys in the past, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're not. That once we do the numbers up, they're mocks, they're last mocks, and my mock will be similar percentage-wise. I think I'm pretty confident about my abilities to analyze talent when it comes to the NFL. Picks like Hunter Henry going to Arizona and Joey Bosa being locked into Chicago are picks that I would probably get flack for most of the time, but it's very possible for those to be choices. I did notice that the second half, the middle of the draft, I didn't get any similarities. The earliest that I've got a similarity in the middle of the draft is 20. So we assume that there's 31 picks. The first 10 is the first third, and then 11 through 20 is the second third, and then we give that this third the additional pick of the 31st pick. But in the middle is where I expect to see a lot of these trades that I had mentioned, the 5 or 6 trades that are still left in the first round. So I could have estimated that was going to be a reason why I wouldn't see similarities between the analysts who are drafting for the team that at that position. Now, some news since the last we spoke. When I got off to go take the dog to the vet and pick up my son, which are things I do as daddy. Tom Brady, his 4-game suspension has been reinstated. He will miss the first 4 games of this season. And Sam Bradford has confirmed that he wants to be traded. Both of which I think people should have been able to see coming. Tom Brady I think he got off fairly lightly on Deflategate, but now the manner has been handled, and he will suffer a 4-game suspension. New England probably suffers in that situation. Normally, the Patriots are able to rebound and hold and stuff like that, but I don't see them coming out at 500 for the first 4 games. I'm going to have to look at their schedule. I'll do that when I get another goal or a break and play. I will go look at New England's schedule, because maybe... Oh, okay. So break and play. I'm going to look at New England's schedule and see if we can look at the first 4 games of the season and see what we're looking at for New England schedules. Pardon me. So the first week, New England plays Arizona.
Another corner.
Is this the regular season or is this? Yeah, this is week 1. Regular season week 1. They play Arizona. Arizona's already a good team. Wouldn't be surprised if that one New England drops. So, New England fans, you're 0-1.
Throw in to come.
Week 2.
And shoots. They could have
Week
widened the lead
2.
here.
New England is playing Miami, and it's in New England. I think everyone knows that that's probably a New England win. Miami is a possibility for an upcoming team. Really interested to see how having Mario Williams and Ndamukong Suh playing together will do. So that maybe they could shock New England. Week 3, they play they're going to play the Texans on Sunday Night Football. If the Texans' hype is as strong as their gameplay, Houston could take that. That's a closer one though. Since the week 1, I think is a no doubter in Arizona's favor. Week 2, I think Miami's got a shot, but probably not as good. Houston, probably not a good shot. And then the last game that he's going to be suspended for is going to be against the Bills, but it's going to be in Foxborough.
Nothing so far in this game to surprise
if you're a Bills fan right now, or a Bills player, you've got to be looking at week 4 and going, we need to steal that one. Because if we can compete this year for a playoff position, we're going to need some in our own division. And, taking games from New England is a big deal. Always a big deal. So they're going to be up for the game, but I don't know if they can pull that one off. Not going to be entirely surprised if you see in the any news around New England that they signed a more quarterback that's more experienced.
From that wasted cross by the opposition.
I don't know, because I don't see Brady taking a whole lot of snaps in preseason either, because he won't be suspended for those. So,
Preston.
Is it is he coming back rusty too? So maybe week 5 and 6 could be a little bit of a problem. But realistically, he's got to, at some point in his career, he's got to start sliding a little bit. He's getting up in age, The way that they're making it sound is that this is, this is going to happen. There's appeals are not likely to go any farther. The 4-game suspension is kind of set in place. And again,
it's going to be his throw here.
Someone had to be suspended.
Isaiah Osborne.
In a scenario where, is something going to happen to Belichick too? I don't know. The picks are, they're going to say, well, as far as front office things go, the picks are our penalty. Well, yeah, that's true. It's true. Granted,
is long over.
all
credit to the team that's winning.
What are you drafting in the first round? It's
the other side.
but that's a New England thing. New England is good at drafting, so you can't penalize them more because they're good at it. But yeah, so that's the Peyton Manning issue, or not the Peyton, the Tom Brady issue. Sam Bradford wanting out. I mean, that was those lines have already been drawn. After the trade up, it was reported that he was upset. You're not really giving a quarterback a real solid chance at competing if you're not drafting pieces around him, and they made it very apparent that they weren't drafting pieces around him. They're drafting ultimately his successor. Whether it's 1 year from now or 2 years from now, it's still his successor, being that it's on the roster when he's on the roster. Now, he's not likely to be on the roster much after Philadelphia takes that pick. Man, I would be shocked if he didn't get traded day 2. For certain day 3. I mean, he's going to have day 3 draft pick value. So a team that goes and trades for him, could just offer out the pick and then get him instead of drafting, which offers another quarterback into this low draft class. Wow, I guess that's a really good question for debate, though, is where does Sam Bradford fall versus the draft class? Potentially coming in, he was ranked very high. A lot of regard was put towards Sam Bradford as being the next great quarterback, if he can stay healthy. Health issues have been a concern, and report just saying that he is not showing up to Eagles camps, which obviously why would he if he's very comfortable margin if not going to be part of the team. If I was in his camp, I would ask politely to make the trade as soon as possible. Philadelphia is no position to have to trade him. He has 2 years left on his deal. Philadelphia should have to put up with it for 2 years, or I mean, that's what they could be like. No, I'm gonna come. I'll be here for the season, but you don't want to play, then retire. I don't know. There's also talk that Nick Foles is getting a lot. Several teams are looking at Nick Foles. Who's better, Foles or Bradford? I think Foles is probably the better pick there. Bradford's injuries. So another report that I'm reading is Miles Jack falling out of the top 10. Come on, guys. Really? There's only one reason. This is not Jalen Smith. And again, Jalen Smith is a good player, but he's not going to be drafted. He shouldn't be drafted in the first couple of rounds. And I would assume that only a team with a couple of 4th-round picks could realistically have the spending room. If he makes it to the 5th or 6th, you could take that player. That's because it's those are guys that may not make your roster for long anyways. English League Cup. But Miles Jack falling out of the top 10, that seems almost impossible at this point. As I'm looking at the order, outside of the fact that the Rams and Philly are at the top, San Diego, no, but Dallas, Jacksonville, Baltimore, San Francisco, Cleveland, I could all say yes to. Chicago, New Orleans, Miami. I mean, now we're out of the top 10, but there's, 5 teams, 6 teams in the top 10 that could use a linebacker. And, it's perplexing that in how this draft is coming to be. It happens every year, don't get me wrong, where players get drafted above what they are because a team couldn't put a deal together but still wanted the same guy. So they're just like, well, we'll take him, and then just have to deal with the fact that we may have stretched or reached for him. Well, the idea is that you don't reach, but players are reached on all the time, and this might end up leading right into me talking about Joey Bosa again. But I feel like he's a reach in the top 10, with Chicago being the destination. We shall see. We shall see. But Joey Bosa, it's kind of like it's a quarterback conversation again. But like if you don't even know if he's the best player available or best player at the position you're drafting at, why are you drafting him so high? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. So, players that could be in the first round that I didn't put on my draft. And I'm going to start with a receiver because it was one of the more common things I saw while I was looking up at the other NFL.com drafts. Josh Doxson from TCU. I can't argue against it. It's just that on my board, in my player prospects and my team needs, he's not the receiver. But I'm not surprised he goes in the first round.
So the first goal, it's 1-0.
There's a Bell. I think he's a safety. Who could very easily slip into the first if a team decides that they need to fill their safety position and couldn't get up to get Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. The Decker from Ohio State, the tackle. Yeah. Teams that... It's interesting about Decker is because I think he gets drafted as a tackle, but teams put him at guard. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if he became a guard. So, yeah, Decker. And I guess I have to put Connor Cook on the list. It's depends on Paxton Lynch and if he goes to New York. But the faster that Paxton Lynch goes into the draft, the more immediate that Connor Cook becomes gets drafted higher. It's a less than average draft class. So teams are like, well, we need to get a quarterback, are going to overdraft quarterbacks. That's how that works. I mean, we all know that. Quarterbacks, defensive ends, receivers to an extent are all positions this year that are going to get overdrafted. Guys that don't have the grade or didn't have the grade going into the draft process are going to get drafted as if they were way better than they are. And Paxton Lynch at 20 is a prime example of that. And in my opinion, Joey Bosa going to Chicago is also. Although I have both of those picked. Because, again, I'm not living in the world where those things don't happen. Because apparently that's how draft analysts look at it. They're in a world where teams don't make stretch mistakes. They just make the decision. I mean, in the NFL.com mock extravaganza, he was picked too. Paxton Lynch was picked for the Jets. It's because it's an apparent glaring need. Now, let's say the Jets are the ones that go after Sam Bradford or Nick Foles. You know, that is more of a scenario where Ryan Fitzpatrick is probably rushing in to get his contract signed because those guys can take his job. And it also will be apparent that if they're trying to do that, one of those two things, if 20 comes and goes and Paxton Lynch wasn't their pick. Because they don't have a quarterback of the future. They don't have a quarterback of the present right now because Fitzpatrick has not agreed to sign his contract. So they go out and get one and force the issue a little bit. Plus, it never hurts to have a backup quarterback if need be. And that's the situation they could be in where they trade for one of these quarterbacks to be a backup or compete, quote-unquote, compete for the starting position. Because a GM's never going to say when he signs a quarterback that they're signed in to be the backup. You know, he could outplay the starter in the preseason, and on a team where it was a competition, win the job, or the starter could get hurt, and in that situation, he's the starter for the season. You know, if Tom Brady gets hurt early in the season, that's how Matt Castle gets to play. Matt Castle becomes a starter. You know,
definitely part of the attacking plan.
the process of the whole thing. I don't know though. My plan for this video was to just go over the NFL ones, talk about the little bit of football news real quick, talk about some of the players that I was interested that might slip into the first round. Halfback is really interesting in this year's draft. Running backs are interesting because I see 2 going in the first round. Do I see 2 going in the first round anymore? No, I only see 1 going in the first round. That's Ezekiel Elliott. But given the right fall of players, could be upwards of 4. I mean, we're talking between 25% of the total possibility or 100. That's a lot of range. And again, it depends on what teams are valuing for their draft. And what the talent is. I mean, Derrick Henry is a 6'2", 230-pound halfback who makes guys smaller than him look silly with agility and power, and makes guys bigger than him look silly with agility and power. Like Ezekiel Elliott is getting a lot of comparisons to some of the Hall of Famers in the NFL. You really have an opportunity to walk away from guys like that? No, not really. So a team may feel, it's almost imperative that they draft one of the guys, and I can't necessarily blame them. It's just that in the league we're in, which is weird because the league we're in has made it a point that a good running team can beat a good passing team, because a good running team is able to open up their own passing game at will, so yeah, it's which one is it? Is it should we be drafting receivers to improve our spread offense, or should we be getting the down linemen and running backs so that we can just run people over? Now, there's some teams, that aren't going to go get another running back. Cincinnati's got a couple of them. I'm fairly certain Pittsburgh's satisfied. I don't know. A lot of teams are saying that they're satisfied at the running back position, which would lead again to the idea that there is 1 taken in Ezekiel Elliott. But if I saw Derrick Henry go in the first, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm by no means saying that if my draft is incorrect that the NFL teams are wrong. I know that I got 32 other guys and GMs that have varying different opinions on the draft process. I keep going back to the Colts GM, but the Colts GM, who is all about you take the best player available, he's lost control, and then other GMs say, well, no, the draft is to fill positions that you need, and then other ones that say it's a way to build for the future, and then other ones that say it's it's a way to get proven players by giving up players that are unproven. And I can believe that too. More and more in sports, you see draft picks just being moved because you want the guy that already exists. Bring in a Kevin Love to the Cleveland Cavaliers with the scenario that that the guy that's coming in the draft is supposed to be, the next big thing, and he looks like there's a chance he's gonna be the next big thing. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of I like the draft. I think that there's you're always looking to get players to make your roster better, but I'm the kind of guy that when I do like let's say Madden, when I draft in Madden, my last 2 rounds are usually dedicated to special team player, a kicker, a punter, and yeah, I always draft a kicker or punter every year. Because if I draft one that's better than the guy I've got on my roster, then the guy on my roster is gone. I don't stick. Kickers and punters don't last long on my teams.
Getting set
Um,
at the corner.
and then the same thing for fullback. Because I always try to keep a fullback on the roster, just in case I've got to go big running. Like, if there's an absolute, like, I'm going up against a 32nd worst rush defense, there's no way I'm dropping back 50 times. Even if I've got the best quarterback in the league, I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to try to establish the run. So, you got to pick a fullback too. Some people say you don't even have to pick fullback. You don't have to pick kickers and punters because no one picks kickers and punters. Well, let's say that I hit. I get a kicker and or punter that end up being money, and they're Pro Bowlers. At the negotiation table, I say, well, come on, man. We drafted you. We knew you had talent. Versus, well, we can replace you. Well, you can replace them either way, and they should know that. But you get them with a sympathy point and go, come on, we drafted you. Like we spent a pick because we knew of your talent. I always feel you would think that it would always feel better to tell a player. I have been drafted in sports games before for like football leagues and basketball and stuff like that. For recreation sports, and it always feels better to be drafted than to be assigned.
Well, here comes the support.
If you come late to a pickup game and they just put you on a team, it doesn't feel as good as if you're picking teams and the guy who's the captain looks at you and goes, yeah, I want you. Because someone wants you. Someone wants to be part of you. They want to have you as part of their team. That's great. That's a great feeling to have. So,
Well, the threat was there.
yeah. My kicker punter rant for the time. There is rumor that there's a kicker possibly slated to go in the second round. So keep your eyes open for that. Pardon me, guys. Sorry about that. Sebastian Janikowski was a first-round pick, but in a time in Oakland history where it didn't make a whole lot of sense because they needed everything. Well, I guess they didn't need everything, but they were right around their Super Bowl run. They could have probably, heir apparent to Rich Gannon. I don't know. It seemed like a luxury pick, and luxury picks are great. When you're a team that thinks you can make a pick and it's just a luxury, wherever it is in the draft, you feel really confident about your roster going into the season. But statements like that also can get a guy fired if they say it's a luxury pick and they go into the season with a glaring hole.
He's crossed it well. He's got his fist to it.
Glaring holes are not a good thing for GMs, especially when they have 4 preseason games, an entire offseason, and an NFL draft to make sure that those holes disappear. But I think that's why best player available sometimes is not the correct way to do things. Because this year's draft, the best player available for, let's say, Indianapolis, because they're the GM that said it out loud, the best player available from the first to second round could be a defensive tackle both times, because that's how deep the draft is for the defensive tackles. Well, not on our board. Well, how are you going to say that before the draft, that that your board could shape up completely wrong? There could be someone who, statistically speaking, there could be another team that has the same exact board as you, but in a position to draft the top 5 guys on your board before you get to your top 2. Statistically, that has to be a possibility, because all things are a possibility mathematically. So, okay, then what? Well, you're put in that position where best player available. Well, could be the same position twice. And I'd hate to see him have to pick if there was a really deep quarterback draft.
Well, that's evaded the keeper's grasp.
Because what do you do? I mean, what do you do at that point? You have them all broken down by position. You draft a quarterback early, and then later on, you come up, and according to your overall prospect board, the best player available is another quarterback. Have you just taken quarterbacks off your list now? Are you like, all right, let's just get rid of all quarterbacks? Or are you going to risk the fact that the one you drafted is the best option? Like I don't know. It just
EA Sports continues its coverage.
best
from the
available
Barclays Premier League.
with asterisks
Fixture
all over
for
it because it's
Southampton.
never
They'll be
always
facing Cardiff
best.
City
Maybe
away
for the
from
first
home.
round. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what
I've had a lot
the
of
answer is in the
supporters
first round.
get excited
Is
about it,
because
and I
there's
am as
7
well.
rounds to the draft,
Alan McInally
and almost
back in
every
Villa
team
Park.
has
He's got
picks
some news for us.
after the first round. You know, like there's not a lot of scenarios where teams draft in the first round and then don't get to play at all the rest of the draft. That if that ever happens, it would be kind of shocked. But you get other chances to fill holes. So maybe in the first round, it's always best player available. That would make sense. A lot of I mean, there's only a couple positions in the league where you only ever have one of them on the roster or on the roster in the lineup at a time. Quarterback, and then kicker, punt, and 2 halfbacks at the same time. I think it'd be fun. But so quarterback, halfback, and your 2 kickers. So you know,
well, they're back defending and they've cut
that's
the pass
you know,
out there.
in that scenario,
Maybe that will ease
you
the
take.
pressure.
You're only going to take one and only have a necessity for one in the roster. Unless you're having open competition, you draft a couple of them. That's what happened in Washington a couple years ago when they took Cousins after they took RG3. And who's the starting quarterback now? Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback now. RG3 is playing for a different team.
Thanks, Alan.
Oh, another discussion. Cleveland is, according to their schedule, is slated to go 0-16. Now, as a Lions fan, I would love for another team to actually do that so that people didn't associate that directly with my team. Now, granted, them slating it with my team and Cleveland's team isn't good, but still, if another team shares in it, it's like, okay, well, there you go. It's not just the Lions. So, yeah, slated to go 0-16. No, they have no advantage on any team this year. They take 2 or 3. I think that's overanalyzing it. There's got to be a team, at least one, where it's close and it's, you know. Plus, they did a lot of roster overhaul. Well, I guess not a lot of roster overhaul. But you know, they got a good quarterback. I think our D3 will do fine. I think drafting a solid tackle would have been better for them at number 2 because they would have got the best player in the draft. But who cares? So yeah, there is a Baylor. Is he Baylor? Basketball player. He's going to go out for tight end. He's taller than the average tight end. He's heavier than the average tight end. He's got a longer wingspan than NBA players. Like he's just raw. But given this draft, I don't see how he wouldn't get drafted. NFL teams are, especially in the scenario where Paxton Lynch goes in the first round, because Paxton Lynch, for any other use of the word, is raw. He needs work to be able to be a quarterback, a professional quarterback, and then he needs even more work to be a starter. Like, he is raw. So that guy should get drafted. It shouldn't be a problem. There is a guy from Stony Brook that's MPA, close, not that far away from my hometown, who is slated to get drafted at some point. He'll be the first Stony Brook player ever drafted. That'll be pretty impressive. Yeah, it's interesting. It's gonna be a good draft, guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Everyone should be looking forward to day 2 and 3 because day 1 is gonna just rack people's mind. Day one's always really exciting, but 2, 3, and the day 2, day 3, or when they used to split it, second and third round, and then 4 through 7 are always fun because there's trades, there's a lot of talk. You got to learn a lot about players at that point. I would never go out of my way to try making a 7-round
And in goes the cross.
mock
Good take by the
for free.
goalkeeper, but no pressure on him.
If I was ever paid to make a 7-round mock, I would do it. But man, just thinking about how 7 rounds, 31 plus picks, because there's compensation picks in the as early as the 3rd round. I think there's compensation picks, so you're talking hundreds of players, and you got to scout even more. You know, you're probably scouting 300 players. So it'll be a good time. But I think I'm just going to do this one game. I just wanted to get the other draft stuff out of the way. I appreciate you guys that have been checking in. I know that not a lot of you have stuck around, but that's cool. I'm not offended. Again, check me out on Twitter at awkwardrunner. Send me messages, like, subscribe. Let me know what more content or topics you'd like to have covered, either as a full video topic or just as a small part of the overall video. And you know, we're gonna keep grinding this. We're gonna keep doing this until baseball, until the show gets here. We're gonna see soccer with topic overlay, and once the show gets here for me, I'll gladly be starting that. So all right, I will see you guys in the next video.